Hello and welcome to Business Arena. I'm your host, Marie Casey. Let's go to the latest business headlines of the day. The European Commission has approved Poland's medium-term fiscal structural plan. Among other things, the document outlines how the Polish government plans to lower the deficit over the next 4 years. According to the outlook presented by the Polish Ministry of Finance, Poland's deficit will reach 2.9% of GDP in 2028, compared to 5.5% of GDP next year. The government plans to achieve this with substantial economic growth and without serious cuts to spending, including social support and defense, the latter of which currently stands at a record high. According to the European Commission, the Polish economy is expected to grow by 3.6% next year. Deliveries of Russian liquefied natural gas to some Western European ports have increased substantially this year, a portion of which are later sold to third-party countries. The EU is seeking to ban this practice next year with the objective of weaning off Russian fossil fuels completely by 2027.
Ships like these are now responsible for most deliveries of Russian natural gas to Western Europe, becoming a popular alternative for pipeline imports. This has been the case especially in France, which this year received its largest volume of LNG imports from Russia since 2018. According to experts, there are three possible reasons. Wojciech Jakubik from the Energy Security Center offers the first.
Explanation might be that they are getting ready for some kind of natural gas imports from Russia embargo that might be on the way. Not only the transshipment ban, but also the full embargo on LNG from Russia.
The second, according to Jakubik, could be a sign of increased interest of Western companies in importing Russian gas to decrease the cost of fuel imports. However, there's also a third factor at play: the ongoing long-term contracts held by energy companies, including Total Energy's SEFE and Naturgy Energy Group.
Until you have a force majeure, so the situation in which you are not obliged to make the contracts happen, you are obliged to finalize the contracts, to fulfill the agreement and agreed volumes and prices.
Approximately 20% of Russian LNG deliveries are later re-exported from European ports to other countries across the globe. During the winter, this is the only way Russian LNG can reach the Asian market. However, the EU plans to stop this practice next March as part of its 14th sanctions package.
The northern path of LNG supplies from Russia to Asia is closed by obvious weather reasons, and that is when Russians were transshipping the LNG supplies through European ports. Transshipment ban will limit this possibility, and by doing so decrease the Kremlin revenues coming from LNG supplies.
Europe's reliance on Russian gas has already fallen from 40% to as low as 10 to 15%, with the objective of a complete phase-out by 2027.
Sales of LNG are a boon for the Russian budget, which has just been passed by the Duma, otherwise known as the Russian Parliament. On the back of this and other news relating to Russia, we want to take a look at what is impacting the country's economy on the bottom line today. So stick around for more coming up right after the news. Poland has voiced its opposition to the EU-Mercosur trade deal in its current form, with Prime Minister Donald Tusk saying that the agreement fails to protect European farmers. Polish Deputy Prime Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz echoed these concerns by highlighting the risks.
Any agreements signed by the European Union with other countries must meet one fundamental requirement. They must ensure safety for both consumers and farmers. This agreement fails to meet that standard. It neither provides a sense of security nor guarantees safety, whether it's the quality of food or the ability of farmers to develop their businesses in a sustainable way. In South American countries, we don't know how things are being done. We can't be certain that standards there match those in the European Union. In fact, I'll go further. There's no doubt they don't.
And we stay on the topic of agriculture. European farmers are calling for a complete overhaul of the EU's Green Deal, arguing that current environmental regulations are unworkable and detrimental to agriculture. With tensions on the rise, both farmers and policymakers are seeking solutions to balance environmental goals with the realities of farming.
These farmers are not embracing the Green Deal, and they have their reasons. The EU's Green Deal, aimed at making Europe the first climate-neutral continent by 2050, has faced growing criticism from the agricultural sector. Farmers contend that the current regulations are unworkable and could harm food production and rural livelihoods. They argue that the policies were developed without sufficient input from those directly affected.
In my opinion, the Green Deal needs to be rewritten entirely. It can't even be called the Green Deal anymore. Its drafting must be preceded by consultations with both farmers and academics, because what we've seen so far has been disastrous.
This issue extends beyond individual countries. It's a widespread concern among the European agricultural community. The European Union acknowledges these challenges and is willing to address them.
Of course, we need agriculture which is more friendly for environment and for climate. But to achieve this goal, we need to use incentives for the farmers, not to force the farmers, not to press them.
Despite assurances, apprehension remains high in the farming community. Professor Artyczak points out specific policies that he believes need re-evaluation to prevent further strain on farmers.
And absolutely no to the fallowing of land. For now, it's voluntary. But who knows if the next European Commission won't want to return to mandatory fallowing, that is, leaving land unproductive, while at the same time we're opening one border, opening another, and letting in food of unknown origin.
The essence of the issue lies in balancing environmental objectives with the sustainability of agriculture. Farmers are urging policymakers to engage in meaningful dialogue, ensuring that new policies protect the environment without jeopardizing food security and the livelihoods of those who work the land.
Another positive surprise when it comes to macroeconomic data from Poland. Following Monday's higher-than-expected October results for industrial production, Tuesday's figures for retail sales are confirming that the clouds over the Polish economy may be lifting.
When it comes to macroeconomic data, this week couldn't have started any better. On Monday, industrial production figures made a splash, and on Tuesday, retail sales data put yet another smile on economists' faces.
This October reading of retail sales has indeed surprised on a very positive note.
Price-adjusted retail sales in October have grown 1.3% compared to the same time last year. That's 0.6% above expectations. Month on month, these figures are even more impressive, showing an improvement of 7.8%. These results come as a relief even more so if we consider the panic that arose when the September figures were published. September saw a 5.7% month-on-month drop compared to August, and a 3% fall year-on-year. This shocked economists, given that retail sales had shown a modest but consistent growth rate of around 4% each month throughout 2024 until then. This month's reading, thankfully, seems to have quelled a lot of anxiety.
And this reading actually confirmed something that we kind of suspected, that probably this very negative September reading was mostly influenced by some one-off factors.
The auto industry led October's growth. Sales of motor vehicles, motorcycles, and parts rose as much as 24.1% compared to the previous year. October also brought further growth in e-commerce, particularly in clothing and footwear, from 19.9% to 25.9%. So, are the clouds lifting? Anna Wojtyniak-Stefańska from PKO Bank says yes, but remains cautious.
We hope that those clouds are actually moving away. Nevertheless, we obviously have quite a lot of uncertainty in terms of the geopolitical situations.
She also pointed to the fact that the trend in retail sales is declining this year, and of course, the continued stagnation next door. The holidays are approaching, however, and real wages are still rising, so there's a lot of positivity for Q4, at least on the consumer side.
And that's all for our business news updates today. For more business stories, check out tvpworld.com.